Assaf, it's always great to see you, man.
Awesome
Maybe,
seeing you, Gil.
maybe before we start, you introduce yourself, a bit about yourself, your background.
Okay, my name is Assaf. I'm the co-founder and now executive chairman of Hippo Insurance. Hippo was started in the US around 8 years ago, where the thought was that the simpler lines in insurance still have to go through some transition. And recently, or a year and a half ago, I shifted to be executive chairman from a CEO. My partner, Rick McCathron, is now holding the reins of Hippo. Company finished 2022 with $806 million in premiums and progressing. It's a long road, and it's something that we're passionate about, and we're ready to take this high climb, and we're on our path.
Amazing. So this is exactly what leads me to my first question for you, Assaf, about the industry, let's say valuations, the market sentiments. We have seen a huge drop downs on valuations on the stock market, also on private investments. So how do you see these market sentiments? Are we sobering? Is this going to change? What are your feelings about this?
So I think there's no doubt that there's been a massive correction in the market. And I think we were too much on one side and we were too frothy on one side, and now we're probably seeing too much of a correction on the other side. This thing, while we like to look at it from the Insurtech or the insurance prism as if it's something that is unique to the insurance, sadly or luckily, whatever you want to call it, it's actually not. We're nothing special. There are worse things that are happening in biotech companies, in other fintech companies, now in SaaS companies, multiples. And I'm not going to go into depth with all of the reasoning of what happened in a zero interest rate environment versus a 5+% interest rate environment of quantitative easing, etc. Right. But I do think that when we started the path, we wanted to take a long-term view, and that's what we're looking at it. We have realized that there's not going to be an abundance of capital. If anything, we're fortunate at Hippo that we have north of $600 million in the bank, and we actually went public. We control our own path. Our aim is to be break even at the end of 2024, and it's something we're going to do, and we're still going to have a significant cash cushion in the bank. It's just something that happens. I think part of the realization, which at least personally for me, is that all of our competitors are 100 years old companies. And we were a bit naive, thinking that we can build something in like 3 years or 4 years that can basically not just compete, but do the fundamentals of insurance properly, underwriting, pricing, claims management, etc. But we are doing it, and it's something we're going to do in a span of like 10, 15 years. You need diversification, you need maturization of the book, you need seasoning of your book, you need to close underwriting gaps, you need to train leaders into the ability to basically do all of the fundamentals of insurance properly. Now, at the same time, and this is what I'm really, really focused, is not to forget where we came from. So when I'm looking at it in that kind of perspective, from basically first principles, then nothing changed in the assumptions of why we started Hippo. So let me be a tad more specific. So the question I'm asking myself, do you think that in 5 years or in 10 years or in 3 years, insurance is still going to be consumed in exactly the same way that it was in the last 50 years? Do you think that with the abundance of technology and data and capabilities that come into the market, we're still going to do the same underwriting, the same pricing, the same processes? Do you think that the same service that that customers used to receive 50 years ago is still something that they're going to still receive? Do you think that the pace of innovation is going to sustain in a linear way. We're just seeing in the last several months, ChatGPT coming in, and there's an abundance of other things. So I really think that, if anything, the strength of the change, which is something that I started a company for, is actually getting faster and faster. The interesting thing is that there is a certain appeasement and recognition by a lot of the incumbents that, oh, we always knew that it's off, because they got a lot of heat of what are you doing, why aren't you innovating and stuff like that. Now, in this correction, there is a moment of like peace and like, oh, we always knew that it was wrong. And I actually think that this is the time to actually double down on innovation and technology, etc., because these underlying forces haven't really changed, and this is what we're doing at Hippo.
I could not agree more, and I think that there are now many more opportunities in the market because of what has happened in the last year or two. So I completely agree, and I also agree to the fact that this is a very long tail product and long tail business, and it takes time. And I totally agree with that. Yeah. So, Assaf, you are one of the most famous guys in the industry and one of the top thought leaders on Insurtech in the world. And I'm very interested to see what do you think about the current major trends that are leading our insurance business.
Firstly, famous, maybe infamous now, and thought leader, I wouldn't take that at all. But I'm going to take more of the specific view of what we're seeing at Hippo that actually works. So at Hippo now, north of 50% of our business is coming from basically embedded insurance. So there's this trend that start for several years that it's just getting stronger and stronger, but nobody's actually seeing real sales and volume. So at Hippo, it's north of 50% of our sales are coming from embedded insurance. So, and I think one of the interesting things, beside the fact of matching and basically personalization of specific sites and specific customers to their needs, etc., there's also a positive adverse selection, because you get customers at the moment of purchase and they're not adversely selecting against you, which is something that you actually have quite a bit in direct to consumer. And this is what a lot of the Insurtech realized, that A, you can't spend as much as you want on direct to consumer because there's a cost with it. And B, from an insurance standpoint, it's not necessarily the right loss ratio that you want. It's the right customers. There's all of that. But in embedded, it's the complete opposite. If you're purchasing a car and basically the car retailer is offering you the insurance at that point of time, or Tesla, stuff like that, then there is no, it's just part of the transaction. Same goes from home insurance, with mortgage, with title, with realtors, etc. So it's something that we're seeing, at least in our standpoint, that it really got to fruition, and it's just the beginning of that. So this is something, first thing. The second thing, at Hippo, we have this customer that we call Generation B, Generation Better. These are customers that want to better take care of their home. And we're seeing that there is a bigger portion of what we thought of these customers. When we started, we didn't identify our correct customers. So we were just, marketing for everybody. Right now, these customers are around 85% of our customers now are Generation Better. And these are customers that we really want and like at Hippo. So these are people that needs and wants more help taking care of their home. These devices that help them, the water shut valve, the leak systems and all of that kind of stuff is something that they actually crave and want. We have ongoing discussions with them about fixing their home. And, I urge you to go and download the hippo.com, basically the Hippo app, which is in the App Store. And now it's open to every person and not just to Hippo customers. So we started to have a lot more interactions. So we're seeing that it's not about everybody wants to have a certain connection, but if you can target the right people, you can actually have a different discussion with them, and they want and they crave a different relationship with their insurer, which is something that most insurance companies are not giving them. So I'm seeing this. I think there is there's several things that we're seeing on cyber, which I think is really interesting. In general, I think specialty insurance is interesting. I think there's more and more data sources. There are things that are bubbling and coming up. I think the force for them is different. And I think people realize there was a shift at the beginning. There was like the rise of MGAs. Now there's a lot less appetite of both the reinsurance community to basically sponsor it, but there's also not enough capacity from a fronter side to basically give. So there's a glut of MGA. And then there was a rise, which is why most proper MGAs that got to a certain scale and certain speed of innovation needed to start or buy their own carrier. Now we're seeing that the market hates the carriers, but I think it's just a temporary thing. There's a cyclical thing, but the main point is, continuing the innovation, continue focus on the customers, diversifying the book, underwriting better, get the prices that you want, kick out the customers that that are not the right customers for us. And these things just takes time. We were naive to think that it's something we can do overnight. Now we realize that it's something that takes longer. I think that in many ways, we probably have one of the best insurance team and risk team on the planet in Hippo. And if you merge it with technology and you're willing to take a long-term view and not like something which is like month, but several years down the line, then there's going to be some winners that even going to come from the current vintage that is not looking really good now in the public market.
Amazing. I really like the positive adverse selection. I love this. And I think that the second thing that I'm going to do now is to download your app, because I didn't know it's open in Israel.
It's open on Android and on iOS. And the only ask that I have from you is every bug and everything that you don't like, then as usual, just send it my way so we can keep improving the product.
Absolutely. Assaf, thank you very much. It was great seeing you, and thanks for your time.
Always a pleasure, Gil.
Thank you so much.